The TalkSport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the TalkSport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search TalkSport Fan Network.
Hello, Cherries fans, and hello to our friends from Liverpool and the rest of the Premier League. It's good to have you here for this very, very, very special show. Now, of course, AFC Bournemouth beat Nottingham Forest 5-0 in a 5-star performance for Andoni Iraola's men against Nuno Espirito Santo's side on Saturday. This weekend, we have got the visit from the league leaders. Can we make it 3 outstanding performances on the trot? Or will Liverpool and Arne Slot come to Dean Court and wipe the smile off our faces and halt our European dream, albeit it might be temporary? Now, before we get going, here is a little bit about our sponsors, Dental on the Banks. To find out more about them, visit dentalonthebanks.co.uk. Now, of course, Liverpool sitting pretty, top of the Premier League, lost 1 game all season, of course, against Nottingham Forest early in the season. They are unbeaten and have won every single game in the new look Champions League. They are in the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup. Of course, they are behind on aggregate against Tottenham Hotspur, but Spurs are Spurs. It'll probably be able to turn that round. That's not a problem. And they have overcome Accrington Stanley. Who are they? Of course, in the FA Cup as well. So they are nothing to be sniffed at. Now, of course, Arne Slot has had to fill some very, very big boots, and those big boots were left by the one and only Jurgen Klopp, who left the football club in the summer. But he's done a pretty good job. Now, we are welcoming back on a very, very special guest from the world of music. And of course, from singles such as All Together Now, Groovy Train, and lots of others, we have got a new album on the way from the one and only The Farm. And it is a pleasure to welcome back on to Up the Cherries in all departments to talk all about that and also even give us a preview of that new song. It is a pleasure to welcome back Peter HOOTON, the frontman of The Farm. Welcome back to the show, Peter. How you doing, mate?
I'm okay, thanks. Yeah, looking forward to the match.
Definitely. And who would... I know, it's absolutely crazy. The last time, of course, we spoke to you, you were top of the league at that point as well. But, I think it's very, very different circumstances, especially for us this year. And it's been a crazy season. So it's absolute...
I watched the Newcastle game. And I couldn't believe how good, we always look forward to who we playing next and going, oh my God. And then you beat it was at 5-0 Forest.
Forest, yeah.
So we're thinking, oh my God, Newcastle are playing great. We got a 3-3 draw with them, which I went to, and I think we deserved to win it really, but we were quite happy with the points, and then you go and destroy them, and then we were quite happy with the points at Forest, really, even though we should have won that, I think, in the second half. But then, you just take them apart at home, 5-0. It's like, it must be dreamland for you.
Honestly, Peter, I never believed when watching this club, -17, we was playing the likes of Morecambe and, of course, Accrington Stanley and you name it, all those years ago. Never in a million years did we ever imagine that we was going to be in this place where we could get Europe, and not just any old Europe. We could potentially get a sniff at the Champions League. So it's unbelievable.
Don't get carried away now.
Wow, we'll come back into the football, but because it has been a very, very successful year last year for both the band, but of course Liverpool Football Club as well. Firstly, on the band, of course, you are getting ready to release your new album, aren't you?
It's got it delivered a few days ago, so it's all ready to go. Just getting all the artwork ready and all the publicity stuff ready, So that should be out the end of May, I think.
Yes, yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it. It's the first album in 30 years, isn't it, Peter?
It is, yeah. In decades. There was no real plan, to get a new album out, but we put a few tracks up on Spotify, and we got a great reaction, and so we thought, well, let's really release one on Spotify and get get some promotion behind it, and we did that, and Radio 2 picked up on it and started playlisting Feel the Love.
Yeah.
So then we had a few more songs in the bag, which we'd recorded over the last couple of years, and we thought, we just need 2 or 3 new ones, and we've got an album. There was no big plan or nothing, or blueprints, and then Modern Sky, who are a Liverpool label, who have the Coral and Jamie Webster and people like that, they got in touch and said, we'd love to release it. So the pressure was on then to get these tracks finished, which we did before Christmas. So we delivered the album a few days ago,
Fantastic. I cannot wait to hear it. And from what you said there as well, Feel the Love, of course, I've been, as you know, from our previous interview, which everybody can watch on this channel as well, I've been a fan of The Farm, since the early 90s. When I was a little boy, it was something that I always listened to. But Feel the Love, am I right in thinking must have been 2018? It was before COVID. It was actually released, wasn't it, on
we put that on a CD. But that was just because a few people were asking, could they hear it,
Yes.
So that was on a CD then, but it wasn't released properly. As when you say released properly, everything's about Spotify nowadays, and also streaming platforms, And it's a learning process. It's gone are the days where it's just all vinyl and CDs, and you get a record plugger and a press officer and all that. So it was all a bit of a learning curve for us, So we put that CD out just to see if people liked it, and people seemed to like it, but it wasn't a big promotion thing. We just testing the water, really. I think testing the water.
But of course, you did release it, and it is on Spotify as well. Feel the Love, for everybody to listen to, and that brilliant track. As is the other tracks as well that you've released, of course. Let the Music Take Control is going to be the name of the new album.
And
of course, Forever and Ever, which was released in November last year.
I think it's getting re-released now, actually, because it got lost in Christmas madness,
Yes. What was it like, after so many years, out? And of course, you was always gigging, always going out on tour, but it was always with the material like Groovy
Yeah,
Train, All Together Now, all the songs that everybody will recognise.
yeah.
What was it like actually penning some new material, and how is that going to impact the up and coming tour?
Yeah, it was strange really because we hadn't, as I say, we hadn't released anything since Hullabaloo, and even Hullabaloo wasn't released in the UK. It was only that was Sire Records in America because Seymour Stein, the great music mogul from America, loved the idea of putting a farm out, and so we released it. It only got over here on import, I think, but I think we got pretty disillusioned with the industry in general. Everyone went off and did their own thing, and it wasn't really until about 2003 that our guitarist and songwriter Steve Grimes was diagnosed with bowel cancer. And when he was in hospital, and he had all sorts of wires, and he thought that was it, because he had a major operation, and it was there, and he said to himself, we should have played more live, we should have written more songs, and it was that he said it, and he promised to himself if he ever recovered that he'd become active again, but that was like nearly 20 years ago, and he's fit and healthy now, but it's I think really it was just, there was no master plan or nothing like that. It was just, we just drifted back into it, and we thought, we enjoy playing these songs live. Why don't we try and get them out? And then when you get past 6 or 7 songs, you've nearly got an album. So we wrote, 3 or 4 new ones last year,
Of course, the album that everybody will recognise from the farm, and the big one was Spartacus, of course, where Groovy Train and All Together Now live.
Yeah.
But what sort of material should we expect from this new album?
Well, I think it sounds pretty modern, and I think, it's got a lot of the tracks are very, dance orientated, but, the melodies are all there. You can tell it's the farm because I'm singing, but I think Keith met Nile Rodgers in Lipper. He did a masterclass with Nile Rodgers. And Nile Rodgers brought his guitar in and had a bit of a, this is me hit maker guitar, And basically, Keith came into the next rehearsal and started playing like Nile Rodgers, and a lot of the songs I've got that. Let the music, certainly. I mean, and I was envisaged that let the music take control after you've heard all these meaningless phrases from politicians. Just meaningless nonsense. I was thinking, forget all that. Let the music take control, make like your emotions and let music take control. So it was a statement against those basically bullshitters in politics, really, that's what it was. And I had this impression. I went to see Nile Rodgers same period that he went into the Liverpool Institute for Performing Arts, where Keith works, and I had this vision of Nile Rodgers, like a prophet, let the music take control, and that's where the idea came from, So I mean, and there's also there's a variety of styles on the album, but I think we're really excited by it because we've listened to it back to back. It's 35 minutes, and it's classic 2-3 minute songs. That's what we've aimed for anyway. That's what we intended to do. And everyone who's heard it so far, they are involved with us, of course, but they love it. And hopefully it'll surprise a few people. It's all about confidence music. It's like football. It's like a star striker who, not scoring for ages and losing all his confidence. I think that's what happened with the farm. That we didn't. We lost confidence in many respects, and that was for various reasons. But I think it's down to we had the confidence after we released that CD a few years ago, and people loved it, and then we were playing the same tracks at the live gigs, and people going, where can we hear them? Where can we hear them? you know, the CDs had sold out. We only had about 500 to 1,000 done, you know, whatever. So then we put them on streaming platforms, you know, and even though streaming platforms pay an awful royalty rate, I don't want to complain too much. It's a great platform to promote yourself, you know. So yeah, that's what we did, and ever since then, you know, we've been getting, you know, more festivals, more gigs, more interest, and that's the way it works, you know.
The album was penned to be the 2nd of May, but I'm guessing that's pushed back a little bit, has it?
It's been pushed back a month, yeah. But you see, it's going to be come out in vinyl and CD as well, you know. So, I mean, because I think a lot of people who remember the farm will want vinyl or CDs, you know. I mean, if you look at our Spotify listeners, and we've got an app where if you're an artist, you can get all your figures where they're from around the world, how many people are listening to you. I mean, I can turn it on now when I can tell you how many people are actually listening around the world, you know. But 189 people are listening at the moment to our Spotify. But you can tell what their ages are, well, and we've got nobody under 18. So if anyone's listening to this under 18, start listening to the farm. And it's, you know, the demographic is what you'd expect, really. It's 69% male, 27% female, and then non-binary and non-specified. Under 18, 0. 18 to 24, 5%. And then it goes to, when you get to 35 to 45, 50, it goes to like 40%, you know. So we know that these type of people aren't really, they want vinyl, you know. That's what they want, you know, and they want CDs because that's what they were brought up on, you know.
Well, that's the demographic that I fit in, to be honest. Is the 35 to 45 demographic, Peter.
If you look at the top countries, it's always the UK, but second is always Brazil. Third is always Spain, and Germany and the States, fourth and fifth, you know. And let's see if we've got any indication that Bournemouth are on here. Sometimes, but I've seen Bournemouth on here. Buenos Aires is on here. Tower Hamlets, Rotterdam, Wakefield, Bournemouth,
There we are.
Number 40 odd.
There we are. Well, that's because I've been listening to it as well, Peter, to be honest. And all together now.
I expect to see a spike in listeners after this podcast. You know?
Oh, we'll make sure that happens. We'll make sure that happens. But actually, it's quite funny that how you described the new album, because Forever and Ever, you know, I listened to it, of course, again and this morning. And I thought, well, okay, I'm going to pen down my thoughts of, and I actually put down, it is a modern mix of modern influences on the original style that made the album Spartacus so successful. And I think that hits it the nail on the head, doesn't it, really? Yeah,
I think so. It's, you know, it's eclectic mix, really. I think that's the best way of putting it, you know, but it's certainly got that like funky guitar sound that, you know, I was talking about the Nile Rodgers guitar sound, you know. And Keith was certainly influenced by that masterclass. So I think 2 or 3 of the songs have got that style to it, you know, and of course, you know, we're big fans of Nile Rodgers anyway, you know, but it's just an influence, you know. But I think we want to, when I first heard the music, I thought that's got to be an instantaneous pop song, you know.
Yeah.
And that's why I wrote the lyrics to that, because it just sounded so exciting, you know.
Well, if you are a whippersnapper watching this, do go and listen to Spartacus now. It's on Spotify. Honestly, you will not regret it. And I'll tell you what, brilliant album. And I think it's probably quite a perfect time now, Peter, to actually play a little bit from the single Forever and Ever, of course. So I'll let it play now. So guys, go and listen to it. And all the details will be below in the description as well, how you can listen to the full track.
Turn down the lights, put everything back together. You are my light, we shine so bright together. Forever and ever, take a good look at me. These are the days.
album is coming out in May. Peter, do tell everybody how they can get, and especially for me, how they can get a physical copy of this album.
Well, hopefully it'll be in all the the good record shops,
Yeah.
And that's, we're going to be doing. Hopefully, we're going to go around the country doing acoustic sets at the record shops, because we like doing that type of thing, And we just played a gig in Pilton, in Glastonbury, to open up the new Pilton stage, which was a club that Michael Eavis had built, called the Pilton Working Man's Club. But it's got new ownership now, and they've called it the Pilton stage. And we played like an acoustic set of on Saturday, and it was great, So we like doing those type of things, those acoustic, so the songs breathe and you can hear them, And hopefully we'll be doing one, on the south coast. Hopefully Bournemouth, if you've got a good independent record shop with a bit of a space there,
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. What's the record shop called?
Oh, there's a couple. There's a couple. There's a really, really good one in Poole, actually, that sells a lot of vinyls. So that's probably a perfect place. So that's I'm trying to think of the name of it now. That's not good, is it? But yeah, Poole is probably the best place, just outside the Dolphin Centre. So hopefully, fingers crossed, you'll be down here, and I'll get you to sign it as well, if that's all right.
Yeah. Well, we've got some. One of our friends lives down there, Joey Musker.
Yes.
And he does a lot of drum tuition and that type of thing, So if we do an acoustic set, I'm sure Joe will be there,
Awesome. Excellent stuff. Well, I'll be there as well, and I definitely need to get you to sign it as well, Peter. Yeah. So yeah. But I'll tell you what, let's come on to this season for Liverpool. And also, I'll tell you what, let's rewind it back to last year. Because believe it or not, I've actually checked the date this morning.
Yeah.
And I think it was the 17th of January we last spoke. Now, believe it or not, 9 days later, Jurgen Klopp announced his desire to step down.
Yeah.
Up to that point, it was a very good season, wasn't it? Really, sitting pretty at the top of the league.
Yeah. It was a massive shock to everyone, But I think, after he announced it, we still had a bit of momentum, and we went on to win the Carabao Cup, of course. But then it seemed to fall apart, later on in the season, in the business, what they say. They call it the business end of the season,
Yeah.
So it was very disappointing, but no, everyone thought that's it's happened all throughout Liverpool's history. Shankly leaves, and we think, oh no, what's going on? And Paisley comes along, and then Paisley leaves, and Dalglish comes. So it's always happened, and it's same with players as well. What are we going to do without Keegan? What are we going to do without Dalglish? What are we going to do without Rush? But it always seems to fit into place by some form of magic. I don't know. But when Klopp left, everyone's, oh my God, that's the end. This is a team he's built. But he left us with a brilliant squad. There's no doubt about that, And there was a bit of a rebuild going on in Klopp's final year. So he's left us with a brilliant squad. No one really knew anything about Arne Slot. No, anyone saying that he did, I don't think he's telling the truth. No one knew about him. We knew he'd been a Feyenoord and that he was loved there. And we knew he did all his team talks in the dressing room in English because it was the international language and all that. But nobody really, every Dutch manager who's come from the Dutch league, it's been a bit of a failure in the Premier League. So that was in the back of your mind. So when Klopp resigns and Arne Slot announced, nobody knew what to make of it. We thought, if we get top 6, we'll be happy. That's what we were thinking. Champions League would be a real bonus in his first season. And then it's just it's just been effortless. Liverpool seems to be in second gear. they don't seem to have exerted themselves, even against Real Madrid. They just control. With Klopp, it was swashbuckling. It was attack and defence. It was all over the place. And it was very exciting. That with Slot, it's a lot more controlled. We can still hit teams rapidly on the break.
Yeah,
it's a lot. We seem a lot more solid.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's obviously a different style, so it's not as gung ho. But I think it's getting the results, isn't it? Nobody's, everyone's, hoping that we can go on and win the league, but you won't get many real Liverpool fans, saying that's going to happen. It's got to be mathematically impossible for City to come back before anyone, because we've had so many nightmares with Man City. Mm-hmm. To the last game of the season. A few years ago, they were 2-0 up, Aston Villa, I think, against City. And if that had happened, and we only had to draw that game, I think, to win the league then. But then Gerrard took off Coutinho, and City ended up winning 3-2 in the last 10 minutes, So, yeah, until it's mathematically, impossible for City, because I think they're still probably one of the biggest threats. All due respect to Bournemouth, you're having an unbelievable season, but in a way, I think you'd be better in the Europa League, if you know what I mean, because the way it is, squads, and obviously it'd be a fairy tale story if you get into the Champions League, but it might damage your Premier League standard. And I think really in the future you want to carry on being successful in the Premier League, don't you?
That's where the money is really at the end of the day. It's the Premier League. And, albeit, I've talked about, how much I'd love to see AFC Bournemouth, go from this -17 League 2, dropping out of the Football League into the Champions League, playing Real Madrid. But
I'd love to see it as well. I think football romantics would love to see it. I'm just thinking of what's probably best for you as in the Premier League, but it's like as soon as Villa are doing okay in the Champions League, but I think it's harmed the Premier League results, hasn't it? Because you've got to have that squad of like 22 top class players. I don't think Liverpool have got that. I think Liverpool have got probably about 18 to 20, but we're not far off. City have had it in the past because they've been able to afford to do that, But I think I'm just thinking of as a romantic, I'd love to see Bournemouth in the Champions League. I would, because it's a brilliant story, isn't it? It's like when Leicester won the league. Yeah. I think if you get into that Champions League, you've got to have those resources, and you've got to have those two first team squads that can play in all different competitions. There's so many games now, especially with the extra games in the Champions League as well. It's it's difficult. Luckily, Arne Slot's just like he's just like smoking a cigar, isn't he? It's just mad. It's just like unbelievable. He never seems to get flustered, and he always seems to come out with the right thing. And I think there's not many things that other fans can pinpoint him on now to be to hate him, because he's just he's like a coffee shop manager in Amsterdam, and he just go, hey man, hey, let it go,
He had such big shoes to fill as well at Liverpool, with Jurgen Klopp leaving, and I think. And one thing I want to put to you, Peter, as well, because I have asked, we had Matt Priest from Dodgy on as well, and I asked him exactly the same question about this back, in August when we played the first game, is that Jurgen Klopp's announcement being in January, I think, had a negative effect on Liverpool. Do you actually put it down to that announcement, or do you think it was fatigue of the players? What do you put down?
Combination.
Yeah,
It was a combination. the kids won the Carabao Cup. Remember, he brought all the kids on in extra time. You know, I'm going, what's he doing? What's he doing? And they were brilliant. But I think, it was, fatigue really. I think, at the end of the day, and then we played Atalanta and probably underestimated Atalanta, and they hammered us at home. So I think they just run out of steam. And obviously, if the manager's leaving, there's not as much, authority there, is there? Do you know what I mean? It's going, oh, he's gone in the summer, and professional footballers are human beings. It's like if you're in a school team or even a semi-pro team, and the manager's going at the end of the season, maybe it just affects you 5%, a couple of percent, maybe, I don't know, but I think it was unfortunate at the time, and I think he wanted to leave it to the end of the season.
Yeah.
But I think it was going to get leaked, and I think that's why he had to announce it, because the club had known since November 23. The club had known then, so I think they were probably tipped off that it was going to get leaked. So I think he probably, he thought, and then you've got the situation of how can you sign to the players don't know what the next manager is going to be like, So everyone's complaining now about them not doing the contracts for Salah, Van Dijk, and Trent. But it's probably their people last season. We go, oh, we'll wait and see what happens next season. There's an element of that, and it's Richard Hughes who was at Bournemouth, wasn't he? He's getting a lot of criticism of the Twitter Liverpool fans. But then when you see what Bournemouth are doing now, and presumably identified the manager, did he as well?
He did. Yeah, he did.
And you think to yourself, you've got to give him time, It's like, the manager's like, it's unbelievable what he's doing. 5-0 against Forest. Forest are solid. Forest are a solid team. We were struggling to score against them. 5-0, maybe, Forest were just like, the heads exploded, I think.
Do you know what? Some Forest fans have said it was a bad day at the office, Peter, but personally, I don't think it was. I think we were just that good, and we've been that good for the last two games. The Newcastle win where we beat them 4-1 as well. But with regards to Jurgen Klopp, my honest opinion is I think that there was that uncertainty, and it probably got in the players' heads. Did they know in November, the players themselves, or was
I'm not sure, and it didn't get leaked.
Yeah,
so I'm not sure. They might have heard whispers. I don't know.
Yeah. So, but of course, Arne Slot has done a fantastic job. I was going to ask you about the three players that you mentioned with regards to Trent. Very, very highly thought of at Real Madrid. They're trying to bring him in. It's only today I saw a news article, I don't know how true it is, that Real Madrid are actually diverting their attention to other players, which would be a good thing for Liverpool, but also Mo Salah and Van Dijk. How important is it to tie those three down to new contracts?
Well, I think, obviously Van Dijk makes Liverpool tick, I think.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed, if he was to get injured, I think that would affect Liverpool's chances of winning the league, Salah is just on fire, and but I wouldn't be surprised if there's an agreement there already. They can't announce it, for whatever reason. Maybe because I think Robbie Fowler let it slip the other day on in an interview. He said, "I've got the impression Salah and Van Dijk have signed. It's just that they can't announce it because all the pressure would go on to Trent then,
Yeah.
And you don't know what's going through Trent's mind, whether he should really learn from history there. Once you leave, like Coutinho left, which enabled us to buy Alisson and Van Dijk. But Coutinho didn't do anything after he left Liverpool, The grass is not always greener, And I think, obviously, Trent, it must be a massive law, to, Real Madrid or Barcelona. Everyone knows that. But, he could stay at Liverpool, become a club legend, and end up captaining the team, when Van Dijk moves on, So he's got a lot to weigh up, and you never know. He mightn't have made his mind up. You know, he hasn't said anything, by the way. It's just all Twitter nonsense and X, whatever it's called this week. You know, it's all social media nonsense and a lot of hot air. You know, you just don't know what trends people are thinking. You know, they obviously Madrid. You know, what's that expression? 9 months winter, 3 months hell. Maybe he thinks he's going to Malaga or somewhere, you know, but Madrid is, that's what they call it, 9 months winter, 3 months hell. That's the local expression because, it's not the Costa del Sol. Do you know what I mean? It's free.
But of course,
but I think obviously I'd like them all to all stay, but if you've got Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes who are making these decisions, you know, you've got to trust them because they identified Arne Slot. They identified various players over the time, and it was Klopp who was getting the transfers wrong. That's why Edwards left in the initial stages. He didn't want to give Fabinho and Henderson extended contracts with better money just after we won the league. Michael Edwards, I think, was against that. He was saying, no, sentiments in football, you know, they're getting past their age, you know, they're getting on a bit. We shouldn't do this. But I think I've heard it was Thiago. Klopp wanted to sign Thiago. And I'm glad I've seen Thiago in a red shirt because he was absolutely brilliant. But he was injury prone. I think that's what the argument was, that, you know, for what we're paying him per week, they'll never get any games out of him, or hardly any games. So in that respect, that's why Michael Edwards allegedly left.
Yeah.
But when Klopp left, Michael Edwards come back. It's no coincidence, is it? You know, I think, you know. So you've got to put your trust in Michael Edwards, you know, that he's made some big calls. You know, he identified Salah, and he's, you know, he does all the stats, doesn't he? So McAllister and Szoboszlai, but also I think he was involved in that in the background. You know, he wasn't back at the club then, but I think he was identifying people because they knew Klopp was leaving, you know.
With regards to Trent, I personally think he should stay at Liverpool myself. And I'm not just saying that because I've got a lot of respect for Liverpool, but because that pressure at Real Madrid is going to be so much higher. And it's going to be very, very intense. They're expected to win absolutely everything. Whereas Liverpool are doing a very, very good job fighting on all four fronts. And what he's also got to look at is, although, and I don't know what your thoughts are of this, Peter, but I'm going to throw it out there because I've always thought this. Steve McManaman, when he went to Real Madrid, did well at Real Madrid. I personally think he did well. However, in all honesty, if he had stayed at Liverpool, I personally think for his career, it probably would have been better. And has Trent got to learn from that? What's your thought?
Possibly. And Michael Owen as well.
Yes.
Michael Owen signed for Real Madrid because Benitez had been brought in. And I don't think he was convinced. And then, you know, within the following summer, Liverpool win the Champions League. And Michael Owen's in the studio, and you want to see his face, you know. It's like crestfallen, you know, he's maybe thinking I should have stayed or whatever. But there was it was funny. This is the only one funny memes I've seen on and it had McManaman in a Real Madrid shirt, Michael Owen and Trent. And they go, be careful what you wish for, you know. Because obviously Michael Owen and McManaman aren't held up in high esteem as, say, Gerrard. Now, Gerrard nearly left. Remember, nearly went to Chelsea.
Yes.
A couple of times, you know. But he stayed. So that makes him, you know, he's forever welcome back. Whereas I don't think Michael Owen and Steve McManaman are that popular, you know, with Liverpool fans. You know. So, yeah, I think you've got to think of your long-term career when you become a TV pundit and that, you know. And when you know, and that's it, you know. But who are we to say, you know, the Real Madrid want to sign a player, if they want to sign a player, but you know, they can fall out of favour within a few weeks, can't they? You know, and get, you know, the white handkerchiefs, you know. So I think I'd be very careful if it was Trent, you know.
As is Carragher, of course, he spent his whole career at Liverpool. Albeit, I don't know if this is true. He's an Everton. He grew up an Everton fan, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Oh,
you know,
and so was his dad, you know.
yeah. Well, it goes to show.
His lad plays for Wigan.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
He scored his debut goal on last Saturday.
I wasn't aware of that actually.
Yeah, he played for Wigan and he scored on Saturday. Yeah, so following in his father's footsteps.
Yeah,
So,
fair.
yeah, I mean Carragher. It's like everything, though. You know, I think there's a lot more pressure on you if you're from the city.
Yes.
You know, and you've got to weigh these things up, and it's going to be a balance, isn't it? You know, the glory of Real Madrid, and you know the Bernabeu, but you know also they can turn on you as quickly as you know. And I think it's unfortunate that he's had that speculation surrounding him, you know, because when he comes on, even if he say he's substitute and he comes on as a player, you can see the passes he's doing and what he brings to the, you know, and a lot of Liverpool fans. I'm getting WhatsApp messages, you know, he's, you know, we'll sell him. He's not that good, you know, and they must be living on another planet, you know, because when I see him, I just think he's a world class passer of the ball, you know.
Yeah, completely agree.
I wouldn't call him a world class defender, but you know, he's the type of player that can change games, you know, and he's one of the world class players we've got in the team for passing, no doubt about it, you know.
Well, there's one man, of course, at AFC Bournemouth, who Richard Hughes is a fan of. He was instrumental in bringing him to AFC Bournemouth.
Yeah.
And it's rumoured he is wanting him at Liverpool.
Yeah.
He is by far, in my honest opinion, the best left back in the Premier League. He's been absolutely outstanding all season. And that's Milos Kerkez.
I saw his goal against Newcastle.
Oh, it was.
And everyone was texting me and going, we need him. We need him. But, you know, it's the irony is Liverpool fans get upset that Real Madrid come in for one of our best players, and you know, just dismiss the idea that you know Bournemouth, you know, fans are going to be up. And of course you are, but you know, if you get decent money for him, it can also get you 2 or 3 players of his, you know, if they're identified of that standard, you know, they can go on to you know do well for you. So it's all swings and roundabouts, isn't it? You know, I mean. Southampton must have been sick of us. We got Mane off them.
Yeah.
Van Dijk, you know, I mean, there was a list, wasn't there, you know?
I found it hilarious at the time. You know, they were just your feeder club, weren't they, really?
Yeah. Yeah. But, you know, I mean, I love Clive Yates as well, you know. I think, you know, I'd love both the players to, you know, to come to Liverpool, but, you know, that's us being, you know, we can give them an offer they can't refuse, you know. But who knows? It's look at what happened to Chelsea last year when Casado was, you know, we put 110 million bid in, whether it was right, whether it was actual serious or not, you know.
Yeah.
Whether he knew he was going to Chelsea anyway, we don't know, but you know, now he might be thinking to himself, I could be in that team. Have you seen that midfield they've got? You know, it's unbelievable, isn't it? You know? But Gravenberch has been a revelation in that position. And when he played for Klopp, he seemed to play on the left of midfield and never really got going, you know. But he's been put in that holding role, centre mid, you know, and he's been sensational, you know.
Well, there's going to be no flights from Bournemouth to John Lennon International, I can assure you that, for some time, because we want to keep hold of Milos Kerkez, because I think he's a brilliant player.
How much did you buy him for, by the way?
Wow, I think it was 15, if I'm right in thinking. I might have that mixed up with Simania, but the signings and the players that Richard Hughes bought in, and it continues. I think he's taught Simon Francis, of course, a legend at this football club, helped us get into the Premier League the first time round back in 2015. a staple of our defence for many, many years. Richard Hughes has basically trained him up, and Simon Francis is continuing that and
Yeah,
picking out these players. Like
right.
we've signed Julio Soler from Lanús in
Yeah,
Argentina, and I spoke to effectively the Martin Tyler, the Clive Tilsey of Argentina, Alejo Rivera, and he said this player, Soler, is going to be better than Milos Kerkez. Now, I
yeah,
don't know about that, but if he's even 75% the player of Milos Kerkez,
yeah.
we've got another star on our hands. So
Right.
it's great, but Richard Hughes will do a very, very good job for Liverpool
Yeah.
and bring.
What were the other notable signings then for Bournemouth that he identified?
Ilya Zabanier, Antoine Semenyo was a
Yeah,
big, big one because Anton Semenyo, when he was at Bristol City, I wasn't very enthusiastic about that signing because he blew hot and cold. I think
yeah,
a lot of this goes down to Iriola and how he's got him consistent, playing regularly. He's been excellent. Been an excellent player. You look across that side, of course, Justin Kluivert was, a big part of his. Tyler Adams as well. Tyler
yeah.
Adams
All
come
right.
in from Leeds, of course, we knew a bit about him. Sinistera. So
Yeah,
there's a lot of young talent. There's some that haven't worked out, like Hamid Traore, but we
yeah.
should make our money back for Hamid Traore.
What would
When
your say Liverpool did realistically come in for Clive and your left back,
yeah.
um, Kevez, and he offered you're going to triple your price for what you bought them for. I mean, what were Bournemouth fans thinking of?
I don't think it would be enough.
Yeah,
I don't think it would be enough. The main reason being is what replacements have we got?
yeah,
At the moment, Peter, crying out loud, we've only got 11 fit players
yeah,
and a load of youngsters,
yeah,
which, to be honest, they're good youngsters. They deserve their place in the squad, but we are very, very injury struck. And it's very true what you said about Europe. If we go into Europe, we need
yeah,
a bigger squad. So
yeah,
if that does happen again,
yeah,
then, we've got a lot of decent backup. But I would say Kerkez, without a shadow of a doubt,
yeah.
has got to be a 60, 65 million pound player.
Well,
And for a
that's what I'm
left back,
saying. If Liverpool come in with 60, 65,
yeah.
that's where I've taken. Yeah,
I think probably at that point with Soler in the background as well.
yeah,
Of course, he is on duty with Argentina.
yeah.
It's a big risk, but it's probably a risk. But I would say not now in the
Mm,
summer,
yeah.
or maybe even
I don't think it'd be right now because
no.
you've got Robertson and
Yes.
Timmy Cass, and a lot of fans are writing them off, But just imagine
Mhm.
Arnie Slot if he tried to get someone and replace them. It's about
Mhm.
team spirit. They're popular people in the dressing room. It'd be an
Yeah.
absolute nightmare. And all these idiots on social media saying, we need a left back or we won't win the league. Well, just leave it to the manager, will you? He knows what the team spirit is. And to
Yeah.
get rid of them now would be, I know there's no sentiment in football, that's their expression, but I think, they've been part of the package up to now, top of both the Champions League and the Premier League, so get on with it.
Well, you are fighting, like I mentioned earlier on four fronts, and I know that you mentioned as well, Peter. I might upset you here. That, of course, Liverpool fans don't actually say it's theirs until it's mathematically impossible. But you've got Spurs in the Carabao Cup. I think you should overcome the
Yeah.
deficit by
You
far.
never know with Spurs, though, you never know. They're
It's
a
weird.
crazy
They're
team, man.
weird sides. They're weird side. But top of the Premier League, top of the Champions League,
Yeah.
and of course you overcome Accrington Stanley. Who are they? In the FA Cup. Can you win what I don't think will ever be beaten if it does happen? Could you actually win all four?
Very unlikely, I'd say. And when you get when people start saying we had that in 2022,
Yeah.
and we ended up with 2, and we lost out in the league and the Champions League to Real Madrid. So I think any talk of that Arne Slot will be dismissing that. I mean, if you were to ask Liverpool fans, we want the Premier League. That's number one priority. And then probably after that will be obviously the Champions League. We're not greedy. We'll just have we'll have them too.
You'll have the double. Wow, a title and a European double.
Title's the one, I think. Because we've missed out. There's never a better time to win the title than this year. With City's demise, no one saw that coming, did they?
No, exactly. And of course, the last time Liverpool did win the Premier League, which wasn't long ago, of course, it was during COVID years.
Yeah, we couldn't celebrate properly. It's a big.
Yeah.
We always regret not being able to celebrate properly. So yeah, this would be special. But I mean, it's a massive test. The game against Bournemouth. And we didn't think we'd be saying that at the beginning of the season, would you? But but it is a massive test because of the form you're in.
Well, a lot of people are coming out with some crazy things that, and even some people have turned around and said that Bournemouth are the favourites for this game, which never in a million years would I have ever entertained it. A friend of mine, a good friend, Brian Baxter, he's a massive Liverpool fan, even though he was born in Bournemouth, and he did. Peter, you might laugh at this. He did take us to the 9-0 thrashing that we had up there at Anfield under Scott Park. That was a fun drive home. But he turned around and said, "This is the hardest game for Liverpool." Is this the one that you are worried about? And do you feel if Bournemouth was to inflict a second defeat in the league, the third in all competitions, which is crazy to say, but do you think that this team will just bounce straight back?
I think they would bounce back. Yeah, I don't think it's I don't think it'd be terminal. I think but I think the Brentford game and the Notts Forest game recently, they were both must-win games. Got to win these, but we drew with Forest. And we, as I say, we should have won, and then we beat Brentford, quite convincingly, really. So yeah, it's a big game, and obviously we want to win it, but I don't think it's a disaster if it was a draw. So yeah, it's. I think the thing is not to get beat in terms of confidence and in terms of league position, because you're always you're looking over your shoulder. And then our game in hand is Everton. Yeah. In a couple of weeks' time, So that's at Goodison, So, it's, I think, avoid defeat at all costs. But I'm confident. It depends how Bournemouth are going to play. If they try and attack Liverpool, that'll suit us, I think, I think it'd be a lot cagier than the Notts Forest game,
And I guess with that Everton game, under Sean Dyche, I would have said, Liverpool, you would have wiped the floor with Everton all day long. However, with David Moyes in charge, I think, when I saw him the other day, they're a different beast, aren't they now, unfortunately? So
you look like the Triangle.
Yeah.
It's like United against Liverpool. When you go to Anfield, they were like playing out of the skin. You could see them. It was like it's United you haven't seen all season.
Yeah.
Then the next couple of games, they revert back to the old United. It's like it was their big game, the cup final. So, yeah, I'm expecting a really good, entertaining game. And we especially looking at Clivert and what was your left back's name again?
Kirkes. Yeah, don't remember that, Peter. Don't tell hard. And,
Bulgarian names are so hard,
Yeah,
I don't think I've even perfected Soberslay,
To be honest, every time I say it, it's always wrong. You know, I've done other shows before.
Kirkes.
Yeah,
Kirkes, yeah.
Kirkes. Yeah, Kirkes is an
Kirkes, sorry, yeah.
outstanding player. But Peter, I'll tell you what. I do this with every guest.
Yeah.
Every guest. I asked you before, but I know this is a really, really difficult one to predict. How do you think this is going to go?
God. If I was having a bet, I'd go for something like 2-2.
2-2.
Yeah, if I was having a bet. But the romantic in me would be 3-1 to Liverpool.
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to do something that I've done the previous 2 weeks. I have. It works against Newcastle. It works against Nottingham Forest. Yeah. So, what I think is going to happen is, I think our injuries are going to catch up with us, but we will play out of our skin. The high press, and I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. But of course, that's reverse psychology, Peter. Only because
You
it's
think you
worked
can
the
win, don't you?
Yeah, I've got fingers crossed,
Yeah.
here.
Well, I think Liverpool now, if it had been earlier on the season, maybe there might have been a bit of complacency after, playing in Europe. But now they'll know, after the last 2 results that they've had, especially that demolition of Newcastle at St James's Park, which is a very hard place to go to.
Yeah.
Everyone will be up for it, I think. So it's probably a different game than we would have expected, and a routine game where, if Bournemouth were mid-table or whatever, Yeah. So, it's going to be a massive game, and, let's hope we can get the 3 points, but just avoid defeat at all costs,
Well, I tell you what, I would absolutely love to see us keep marching towards Europe. And I've got my fingers crossed for us. But Peter, before I let you go, of course, the tour is coming up in May. You start off in Carlisle, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's not a tour. It's a series of festivals. But we're starting off in Carlisle, and we're going to Inverness, and then we've got festivals all over the country. So I couldn't name them off the top of my head because it's not a tour as such. It's just festivals. But we will be doing May, June. We will be going to record shops, doing a bit of an acoustic tour for that, maybe. Hopefully.
Fantastic. And then beyond the album release and of course the festivals, what are the plans for the farm? Have you got a follow-up album to this one?
Yeah, well, we're going to have to start writing it now.
Excellent.
There's no rest for the wicked, so we have to start writing it now, because if they want an album out next year, it'll need to be getting written now. So that's what we'll be doing in the next few months, I think, as well, in between festivals. Wow. So we're really looking forward to it, and just to see what people's reaction is.
Well, I am really, really looking forward to it. Like I say, Peter, I absolutely love Forever and Ever. Great song. Feel the love. I will be there getting it on day one. And in the meantime, listening to it on Spotify. The link is down below in the comments, everybody. So go have a listen to it now and get yourself to those record shops. And if you are, like Peter says, a whippersnapper and you're, 18 years of age, and haven't listened to decent music, go listen to Spartacus now. Go buy yourself a copy from HMV. You won't regret it.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much, Peter. I'll see you soon.
As usual. And may the best team win on Saturday.
Yeah, likewise, mate. Likewise. It's been a pleasure, mate.
All right. See you later.
Thanks, mate. And thank you for joining us. Hit the like, subscribe, and the bell button below. Helps this channel to grow. See, I rhyme, albeit I'm not a musician. Got a piano here, but I'm not that well trained in that. But one man that is well trained, of course, is Peter HOOTON and the band The Farm. And you can listen to the early days as well in this channel. Just go click the link just above and you'll be able to find that interview, which does cover the early days and also does touch upon Hillsborough as well. We've also had lots of other interviewees come on. We've had Damon Minchella from Ocean Colour Scene. We've had Adam Devlin from the Blue Tones. We've had Matthew Priest from Dodgy. We've had Richard Archer from Hardfi, Gaz Whelan from the Happy Mondays, and lots more. So go check them all out. They're all in the interview tab, so you can find them all in there. But until the next show, thank you for joining us. Up the cherries, and we'll see you soon.
The TalkSport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the TalkSport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search TalkSport Fan Network.